All right, hello everybody. Go ahead and pause the video. We're going to start with the warm-up. Do those 4 on your own, and then I'll go over with you here whenever you unpause the video. All right, hopefully you pause the video and try these on your own. Let's go ahead and go over them. Number 1, a recipe calls for 3 potatoes to serve 12 people. Which of the following correctly shows the ratio of potatoes to people? That is so important. The order matters. When I make my ticket, I'm writing potatoes over the number of people. Well, how many potatoes are in the problem? We have 3. So I know my numerator's got to be smaller than my denominator when I simplify it, because the people number is 12, and 3 over 12 without a calculator. To simplify, we're just going to divide these each by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 3 over 12 is the same thing as 1/4, aka 1 to 4. Your answer is B. Give yourself a pat on the back if you got B. We're moving on. Number 2. Which of the following shows the ratio of rain in June to the rain in April or May? On the last slide, it showed you that or was a combining word, meaning we got to add April and May together. So it's June over April plus May. Excuse the handwriting. So first of all, let's do the numerator. June had 6 inches. We got to combine April and May. Well, April had 8. May had 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. So 6 over 11 is also known as 6 to 11. Give yourself a pat in the back if you got D. For number 2, moving on, number 3. Solve the following. All right, this is another way to read this is 12 is equal to some number minus 8. AKA 12 is equal to what minus 8? I know n must be greater than 12 because we are taking away 8 from it to get down to 12. Like I said, if you were on the nth floor in a building and you walked down 8 floors to get to floor 12, you must have been 8 floors higher than 12, which we know 12 plus 8 is 20. These ones you shouldn't miss though, because once I know what n is, plug it back in. 20 minus 8 is in fact 12. Give yourself a pat in the back because I know everybody got that one correct. Last but not least, determine the volume. All right, we have to count by 1/2 in order to find the length, width, and height first before we do length times width times height to find the volume. So, easy way to do this, just count by halves. The height is 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, 4/2, aka 2, but I'm just going to leave it there. This one is 1/2, 2/2, aka 1. Going back, this is just 1 block worth 1/2. So that is 1/2. So those are my 3 dimensions, and I'm multiplying them together. We have 4 over 2 times 2 over 2 times 1 over 2. 4 times 2 is 8 times 1 is still 8. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is also 8. And 8 over 8 is 1. This answer is 1 cubic inch, or I guess the answer is 8/8 there. Another way to do it, if you simplify this, 2/2 is equal to 1, so we don't really need to multiply by that. 4/2 is equal to 2, and 2 times 1/2 also gives us 1. That's a quicker way to do it. All right, put this sheet away in a folder or something to keep it nice and clean and unwrinkly, and then move on to the daily dose. This was one of the most missed problems from Friday's test. First of all, it's asking how much sand is going to be in a box. So if we're filling it up, we're dealing with volume. This is a volume problem, so I know eventually I'm going to have to be doing volume equals length times width times height. Well, let's plug in those. It says the base is 5 by 4, so that's going to be the length and the width. 5 times 4, and the height is 10. 5 times 4 is 20, times 10 is 200. So the total volume of this box is 200 cubic inches, and that will absolutely be an answer choice, but won't be the answer here because he's not filling it all the way up with sand. He's only filling it halfway. And the biggest mistake people made on Friday is they divided by 1/2. But you should remember, when you divide by 1/2, the number's going to increase. And we know that this is the box's max volume. It cannot hold more than 200 cubic inches. That's its max. And halfway, we know, has to be less than this. Okay, so instead of dividing by 1/2, if you multiply this number by 1/2, or divide it by 2, remember the reciprocal rules, we get 100. 100 is half of 200 cubic inches. That is how much sand is in the box if you filled it up halfway. Give yourself a pat in the back if that makes sense, and then move on to quick review. Try these on your worksheet first, and then unpause the video so we can go up together. All right, when I'm reading this one, this is 5 times n equals 20, so we gotta use the inverse of the n is being multiplied by 5. The opposite of that is to divide by 5, n equals 20 divided by 5 is 4. Check your work, plug it back in. Is 5 times 4 20? Absolutely. This one, oh my goodness, so many people put 4 here on Friday. 4 divided by 5 is 4/5. That's not 20. 4 divided by 5 is also 0.8. It's got to be 20. This is saying what divided by 5 is 20. Some number split 5 ways is equal to 20, which means this number must be 5 times greater than 20, okay? The opposite of divide by 5 is to multiply by 5. Cancel out, n equals 100 there. Plug it in, you get your answer. This one, inverse. The opposite of plus 5 is minus 5. Minus 5. 20 minus 5 is 15. 15 is your answer there. Plug it back in. 15 plus 5 is 20. Last but not least, I know this number must be greater than 20 because we're taking away 5 from it to get down to 20. So we take the inverse, get 5 more than 20, which is 25 equals n. Check your work. It's 25 minus 5, 20. Absolutely, that's how you know you get it correct. All right, activator, mental maths. Before I show you these, let's do this one together. In the past, we've been dealing with our base numbers, which would have been like 36 and 4. 36 out of 4 is 9, and then we just tag on the zeros. Today's a little different because this one also has a 0. So the easiest way to do this is to stack these. We have 360,000, excuse me, divided by 40. We're still going to deal with our base numbers, okay? We still are going to lead with a 9. But because this has a 0, we're going to cancel out a pair of zeros. So cross out there and there. Now we can tack on those extra zeros. 36 divided by 4 is 9, like I said. And then there's 1, 2, 3 extra zeros to make my answer 9,000. Try these ones on your own. Pause the video, we'll go over in a second. All right, stack them and divide. We have 25,000 divided by 50. 1 pair of zeros cancel out. 25 divided by 5 is 5. And you add the 2 extra zeros to make that 500. Next one, stack them up. 440,000 divided by 40. 1 pair of zeros cancel out. 44 divided by 4 is 11. 3 zeros making 11,000. Bottom left, stack it up. 36,000 over 1,200. This time, 2 zeros are going to cancel out. 2 pairs, I should say. 1, 2. 36 divided by 12 is 3. Add the extra 0, making that answer 30. Last but not least, 320,000 divided by 800. How many zeros will cancel out? There's 2 on the bottom, so let's cancel out those 2 pairs. 1, 2. 32 divided by 8 is 4. Add the 2 zeros and make your answer 400. Cool, moving on. All right. This was kind of a difficult concept to grasp. So, the main difference here. This one we have 3 holes and we're splitting it into halves. Okay, so we're making the hole smaller, so we're going to, our answer is going to increase because we're dealing more pizzas. Okay? Pieces, I should say. And a way to explain this is looking at pizzas. Here we have 3 pizzas, excuse me. 3 holes, and I'm going to cut them into halves, which is going to end up with how many halves in the end? Well, I know 3 divided by 1/2, keep, change, flip, gives us 6 over 1, aka 6. My answer is going to be 6. This is how we get it. 3 divided by 1/2. I split each of these into halves. How many halves do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is why when you start with the whole number, you divide it by a fraction less than 1, the number actually goes up. This one's different. If we have half of something and we split it 3 ways, the answer is going to get smaller. And a way to visualize this is think if you had a half a pizza and you split it with 3 friends, how much pizza does each person get? Well, 1/2 divided by 3 over 1, keep, change, flip, we end up with 1/6. The reason why it's 1/6 here is because it's 1/6 of the original pizza. If I were to go ahead and draw the rest of the pizza that is missing here, these 3 pieces are 1/6 of the original pizza. So that's why this answer is 6. That's why this answer is 1/6. When you start with a fraction divided by a whole number, the answer gets smaller. When you start with a whole number divided by a fraction, the answer is actually going to get larger. All right, in your notes, go ahead and write this down. In your notebook, pause the video, copy them down. All right, here's what the word problem looks like. James is baking 3 apple pies, and he has 7.5 cups of sugar he's going to use for these pies. How much sugar will be in each pie? First of all, when I'm dividing this stuff, the main thing to do first is figure out what is being split up. Am I splitting up the apple pies? No, we're baking apple pies. What is being split up here is the sugar amongst the apple pies, okay? Each pie basically means something divided by pies. So it's the sugar divided by the number of pies he's making. That's the toughest part. Once you do that, the numbers just fall into place. How much sugar does he have? 7.5 cups. How many pies is he making? 3. Okay? Here is our math problem. That is not ready to be worked with until we make them both fractions so we can keep, change, flip. So 7.5. We did this last week. Working clockwise, 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1 is 15. And remember, the denominator stays the same. Then how do I make 3? How do I make any whole number a fraction? Just put it over 1. We have 15 over 2 divided by 3 over 1. And now this is ready to keep, change, flip. Keep the first number. 15 halves stays the same. Change division to multiplication. And then 3 over 1 flips to 1 over 3. Just go straight across. 15 times 1 is 15. 2 times 3 is 6. And there's your answer. Now, if you take it a step further, then 6 goes into 15 twice, with 3 left over. Denominators are the same, and 2 and 3/6 is also known as 2 1/2. Those are your 2 possible answers there. Hopefully that made sense. So you can do these 2 on your own. Pause the video and give it a try. All right, let's go over these. Remember, the biggest mistake students made last week is they converted this to improper, converted this to improper, and then thought they were done mathematically. This is still gonna have to be flipped, but we gotta make it a fraction in order to flip it first. So we should have got here, 3 times 6 plus 2. 3 times 6 is 18 plus 2 is 20 over 3, divided by 3 times 3 plus 1 gives us 10/3, okay? That's step 1. Step 2, keep, change, flip. Keep the first one. Change, flip, change, division, multiplication. 10 over 3 flips to 3 over 10. Now we can just multiply straight across. 20 times 3, 60. 3 times 10, 30. That's an acceptable answer choice. If you want to reduce it, 60 over 30 is aka 60 divided by 30. Also gives you 2. 2 over 1 or 2. Next one, you got to convert them both first. 5 to 1/2. 5 times 2 plus 1, we get 11 over 2. Divided by 3 times 2 plus 1 gives us 7/3. Now we can keep, change, flip. We have 11 over 2 times 3 over 7. We get 33 over 14. Don't even bother about turning that to a mixed number. If you got 33 over 14, you are good to go. That brings us to the end of this lesson. Now, in order to get today's worksheet, at the bottom, the back, wherever we just left off here, underneath it, there's a space for the exit ticket. Go ahead and write exit ticket and write your answer to this problem, and that will be the ticket to receive today's work.